Shalom, this is Rabbi Mark Angel at the Institute for Jewish Ideas and Ideals. Thanks very much for checking in with us today. Please visit our website, jewishideas.org, for a lot of articles, information relating to a modern orthodoxy that is intellectually vibrant, compassionate, and inclusive. We received a question, very interesting question, about the nature of prayer, specifically relating to the Rambam, who had a very philosophical idea of God. And the question really is this: do we really expect that our prayers can change God's mind? Do we think that by praying in some way this relates to the nature of God in such a way that God will listen to our prayers and change whatever decree he had in mind? It's a very interesting question and very deep, and I'm not going to be able to give a full answer in a short presentation today. However, let's talk about the subject more carefully. The Rambam, in his wonderful works, both in the Guide for the Perplexed as well as in the Mishneh Torah, makes it very clear that God is beyond our understanding, great, vast, beyond anything that human beings can understand. And it's difficult to know exactly how anything we say or do can impact in any way on God. God is beyond our impact. On the other hand, the Rambam notes, which is obvious, that our tradition is filled with passages in the Torah and Bible and in rabbinic literature, which include many prayers and include many ideas which treat God as a very personal God, a God who intervenes in our life and our history, and who is concerned about us. And it's very problematic, really, in the thought of Rambam, how you merge these two different concepts of God. One, this transcendent, ultimate, unmoving God, and on the other hand, the biblical notion of a personal God. I've dealt with this to a certain extent in some of my own writings on the Rambam, and I think perhaps the best one who wrote about this was Marvin Fox, the late Professor Marvin Fox of Brandeis University, who said that in spite of the fact that these seem like two different approaches to God, Rambam thought it's necessary for us to have this sophisticated philosophical view of God, while at the same time, inexplicably, in a certain sense, have this very personal sense of God as being very close to us and very receptive to our prayers and to our needs. How we merge these two, how we blend these two, is never made clear by the Rambam, and it's assumed, I guess, that we are intelligent enough and sensitive enough to be able to do this on our own. The question that was raised to our YouTube channel was also raised to Rabbi Chaim David Halevi some years ago, late Sephardic Chief Rabbi of Tel Aviv, where someone had asked him, how do our prayers impact on God? How can they impact on God? And Rabbi Halevi responded by quoting a prayer that had been created by Rabbeinu Bachya in the Middle Ages. And I'm going to read part of that prayer in English. The person comes before God and says, God, you know my lacks and my patterns of behavior. I have not told you my needs in order to inform you about them, since of course God knows everything, but rather so that I can feel the greatness of my lacks before you and express my trust in you. If I ask from you something in my foolishness which is not good for me, or if I seek from you something which is not to my benefit, your higher understanding is greater than my understanding. I lay before you all my concerns and trust to your existing decrees and your higher providence. Rabbi Halevi quoted this statement from Rabbeinu Bachya to indicate what is the nature of our prayer. When we come before God, we don't ask God for things that God doesn't already know about. Of course, God knows if we have an ache and a pain and an illness that needs to be cured. Of course, God knows if we're concerned about our parnasah, our well-being, etc. We're not coming to ask God to change. We're not asking God to intervene on our behalf. What we are asking is, please, God, be aware of my shortcomings, my failings, my flaws, my troubles. I have nowhere else to go. I need to turn to you. And the prayer, in a sense, is an introverted prayer. It doesn't only reach out to this great cosmic God, but it reaches into our own souls to realize our own smallness, our own dependence on God. And through this process, it makes us more spiritual, more careful human beings. Rabbi Halevi compared prayer to rain. Namely, when it rains, if a field is properly cultivated, then the rain can produce beautiful crops from this field. But if the field is not cultivated, then the rain just creates weeds and thistles and thorns. likewise, said Rabbi Halevi, if we are spiritually in tune, then our prayers to God are like rain. They enrich us, they strengthen us, they give us a sense of calm and serenity so that we can cope with life in a better and stronger way. But if we're not spiritually cultivated, then our prayers are like rain that falls on a fallow field that hasn't been properly cultivated. So this isn't really an answer to the question, which I think fundamentally doesn't have an answer, except to say that when we pray as sincere, honest human beings coming before God, not to manipulate God, not to bargain with God, but to come with honest, pure souls before God, the master of the universe, asking for his guidance, his strength. And in this way, somehow internalizing that strength of God and internalizing, like the rain fructifies a field, that spirit of God should fructify us and strengthen us so that we will be able to serve him better in the future days. I hope that this has been helpful to you, and thank you for your question. Please, if you have questions, send them to me at mdangel@jewishideas.org. I'll be very happy to address them. I wish you all the best. Chazak, chazak. Stay strong, stay good, and peace on all Israel. Shalom, shalom.